Thank you so much for joining us on such a special day.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Now, Doctor, look, the 60th anniversary of the adoption of the Freedom Charter. Are we living according to this charter 20 years after democracy?
Well, in some ways we are, and in other ways we aren't. So let me just elaborate. Of course, we do now have universal franchise. We've put an end to racial discrimination, which in fact belatedly happened at the behest of the National Party government, primarily in the early 1990s in the negotiation period. But of course, many of the socioeconomic issues to which the Charter refers, we really haven't made sufficient progress. If you think about the emphasis on education, one can understand at the time how strongly people felt that we needed better education for black people. And unfortunately, our education system in the last 20 years or so has not improved. There are even some views that it's deteriorated, that so many schools are now dysfunctional, that so many people are coming out of their schools without the capacity really to be useful in the workplace, and that's adding to our problem of unemployment. And that's another area where the Charter talks about there being work for everybody. But in fact, we've seen from the recent stats on unemployment that it's gone up. We have 26% unemployment on the strict definition. By comparison, China has 4%, Brazil has 6%, and of course within the youth sphere it's even worse, at well over 50%.
Doctor, let's just go back a little bit here. I'm sure many people don't know, but tell us a bit about how the Freedom Charter was adopted. What gave rise to this historic piece of document?
Well, obviously there was a sense that it was important, particularly after the Defiance campaign in 1953, to do more to re-energize people in the fight against apartheid. But I think it was also an opportunity for the South African Communist Party to exercise more influence over the ANC. And so there's actually been a lot of hype about the Charter for a long time. And though, of course, these views were solicited from people around the country, in the end, many of the clauses, particularly the economic clauses, were drawn up with significant influence of the South African Communist Party, with the result that Chief Albert Luthuli, who was the president of the ANC, but wasn't able to attend the meeting in Kliptown because he was banned by the National Party government, he thought those clauses were too socialistic. And I'm talking about the things that talk about the mineral wealth beneath the soil, the banks and monopoly industry need to be transferred to the ownership of the people as a whole. That sounds like a recipe for nationalization. And we've seen now with the collapse of the Soviet Union, with the collapse of Eastern Europe, with China finally being able to improve living standards for its people, mostly through economic reforms which have embraced the free market, that that's not the right way to go if you want to generate growth and you want to increase opportunities for people. So rather than the ANC regarding the Charter as its Bible, to my mind we should be putting much more emphasis on the Constitution, and when it comes to economic policy, recognizing the truth that we need economic growth. It's one thing to redistribute the existing pie, but we need to have it bigger to meet the needs of an expanding population. And for that, obviously, we need to create a situation where it's attractive for business to invest, attractive also for business to offer more jobs, so that we can begin to address this crisis of unemployment and give so many more South Africans a real sense that things have improved.
Now, Doctor, please, what is the significance of the Freedom Charter to all South Africans?
Well, I'm not sure about that. Basically, it's an ANC party political document, and we're often told that it was well known in the country between 1955 and 1980. But I think that's probably not true, partly because, of course, the ANC was banned. And it was in 1980, in the 25th anniversary, that the ANC had a big campaign called 1980, the Year of the Charter, to try and reinvigorate debate and awareness around a document which by then had largely been forgotten. And the ANC was pressurized to do that by the fact that black rivals had grown up inside the country. The black consciousness movement had been instrumental in the Soweto revolt, which shook the country in 1976. And Inkatha was growing far more rapidly than the ANC had ever been able to do. So it was very important for the ANC to start focusing public attention again on itself and the Charter was seen as offering a means of doing that.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time and understanding here on PM News. That was, of course, Dr. Anthea Jeffery. She's the IRR Head of Policy Research, talking to us about the Freedom Charter and why it matters to each and every single South African today as we celebrate the 60th anniversary of the adoption of this very important charter.